Feeling stuck, depression, self-criticism, and raging at people, they're all forms of repressed anger. In this video, we are going to talk about what anger actually is, because it's not what you think, how the symptoms of repressed anger happen, how to have a great relationship with your anger, and some things to watch out for. And then at the very end, we're going to give you an experiment that you can run so that you can have a new relationship with your anger. So let's start with what anger actually is. The way to think about anger is that there is a tube of energy moving through you, or an emotional experience that you're having. And if you constrict it or resist against it or try to repress it, it kinks the tube in different areas. And if it's kinked this way, it sounds like this: I'm not angry. And if it kinks this way, it's nice dress. And if it's kinked this way, it's whoa, you son of a blah, 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 blah. And if it's kinked this way, it's I'm such an asshole. I'm so bad. Why do I always fuck up? So the way it's kinked tells you the symptoms that you're going to have. If anger is unkinked, it is really a deep expression of love. We do not get angry at anything that we do not have care for, right? So we wouldn't get angry if something like brushed up against us in the subway. But if somebody like hurt our kid, we would get angry because we have a deep care for that. And so if that anger is unresisted, or if it's met with a tremendous amount of love, is another way to say that, then your anger looks like Martin Luther King anger, or it looks like Gandhi anger. It looks like anger that is, hey, I am here in love, but I'm not going to accept this. It's like a very clear boundary. And that's what anger ends up being when it's completely unrestricted. So oftentimes in our society, what people say is anger, which is somebody yelling at somebody else violently, that's what we think anger is. But that's not anger, that's repressed anger. It's anger where the hose has been kinked. If you can't express it one way, you're going to express it another. If you can't just say, oh, wow, I'm angry because mom wouldn't let me get angry, then you're going to put anger at yourself. You're going to criticize yourself. Or it could be that you had a dad who was a yeller, who always screamed, and you said, I'm never going to be like that. Or you felt internally so out of control when you got angry, you're like, I don't want to feel that. There's a lot of ways that you might have learned to constrict your anger. Let's go into how to have a good relationship with anger. So for some reason, which is just mind-boggling when you see it, most humans think that there's two options. I get angry at somebody, or I don't get angry. But there's this like other option that's like, I go get angry and I don't do it at anybody. I don't yell at anybody. I don't break shit. I don't destroy stuff. I just allow that anger to move through my body. That's another option. And somehow or another, most of us just don't even see it until you see it. And then it's like, oh, it's just so obvious. And so a great story about this is when I was coming to terms with my own anger and learning to move it, I was like 35, 37 years old or something. And I had two little girls. And every time I made pancakes, I was like, okay, I'm going to make some pancakes. And no matter what, like when everything was about to burn and everything was going wrong, that's when the kids would ask me questions. That's when my girls would ask me questions. And they did that one day, and I stopped and I went, I'm angry, I'm angry, I'm angry, I'm angry. And my little girl looked at me and she said, oh, that was some good anger, Dad. Because she knew it wasn't anger at her. She knew that anger was safe and there was nothing wrong with it. But very few of us have ever been taught that. What we've been taught is anger is the way somebody tries to control us, and so it's a bad thing. So the first thing is to have a good relationship is to realize, oh, you can express anger without hurting anybody. That's the most important thing. The second thing is to not judge your anger. So typically, if we allow ourselves to express anger, we expect anger to look like logic. And if it doesn't, then we get judgmental of it, right? Like anger does not talk like logic. Logic talks like A plus B equals C. Anger goes clarity. That's how anger moves. If you let the anger move all the way through, then you get this idea. People feel stuck, they move some anger, they feel unstuck. People feel like they're beating themselves up, they move some anger, they're not beating themselves up as much anymore. But if you expect it to be logical and judge it if it isn't, or judge yourself for having it, or judge the thoughts that are coming through with it, then you'll never move the anger and you'll never get to the clarity on the other side. Now let's move into the things to watch out for when you're working with it. And we've covered these a little bit already, but let's go into them with a little more depth. The first one is do not get angry in a way that's going to create some shame. And the two ways that typically people do that is they get angry at somebody, or they break something or destroy something that's important to them while getting angry. And either one, they get to say, oh, see, anger isn't safe. Oh, see, anger is bad. Oh, see, I'm hurting somebody with anger. And so it reifies that loop of anger is something that's not good to do. So that's the first thing. So make sure that when you get angry, you do it in a way that is loving and caring for you and everybody else around you. The second thing is, studies will show this. If you start expressing anger, especially if you haven't expressed any for a long time, it's like a lot of anger is going to possibly come up. So you're going to be noticing, oh my God, I'm getting angry at this. I'm getting angry at that, which just means you need to move more anger in a safe place. Now, eventually that starts going down. It's like a champagne bottle. The pop happens, all the champagne comes out, and then you can learn to just enjoy it and have the full experience of the champagne. It's the same with anger. As that channel becomes unconstricted, anger just looks like this. Oh no, I'm not willing to accept that. Oh, that doesn't work for me. It's just clear boundaries. And it's clarity of like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm not going to be stopped because of what other people think. Right? That's what happens when that anger is completely unmoved. It doesn't mean that you don't have to get angry every once in a while, but that big ebb and flow of anger dissipates, and then anger just becomes a very cohesive part of your life, and it's another expression of your love in the world. Moving anger for the first time can be a little bit tricky. So that's something that we do in courses, and that experiment isn't going to be here, but there's a great way to just get started with your anger. The experiment is simply sit down and write, like free write, non-stop writing without any thinking, something that you're angry at. Just anger, 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 anger. You know, use the word fuck and get angry and shit and like fully write, but don't do anything and just do the free writing. And if you look at the neurological studies of people doing free writing, it allows them to kind of go past their logical brain. So it's very useful in that way. And you get some movement in your body, which makes it helpful. But the important piece here is that you can't allow the judgment to come in or expect the anger to be a specific way. So your brain might say something like, that doesn't make any sense that you're angry. And the answer is like, yes, it doesn't. But I'm just going to listen to it and see what happens. Or you're going to say something like, you have no reason to be angry. You're right. Emotions aren't rational. That's how it works. Okay, great. And you're just going to keep on writing. And if you allow yourself to write like that, at some point you're going to get to a moment of clarity. You're going to see something that you hadn't seen before. You're going to have some breakthrough. And so you just keep on writing until you get that breakthrough. So the experiment is to do that. And I would suggest every other day for a while, but definitely do it until you find a way to do that writing that gets you the breakthrough, which is just a way to do the writing without the judgment, without telling it to be one way or another thing, without any pre-editing, just letting it flow out. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you got a lot out of it. If you liked it and you want more, hit like and subscribe. And if you have anything you want us to cover, just leave us a comment.